Without further ado, let me now introduce our next panel, which is on leading from the front and raring to go. What does it take for young leaders in communications to make it big? This panel comprises of young leaders in communications. Please welcome Abhilasha Gupta, Tech Mahindra, Akanksha Jain, BharatPe, Hepsibah Rozario, Razorpay, Sanghamitra Bhargov, Byjus, Shree, Lenovo. And this is going to be moderated by Mukta Lad, Comms News. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our next panel, discussing on leading from the front and raring to go. Over to you guys.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Shreya.
Welcome, Mukta. Stage and screen is all yours, and over to you and your panelists. Looking forward to this one.
Thank you so much, Shreya. Thanks for that. Hello, ladies. How are we today?
Hi, Mukta. Doing good. How's everyone?
So to maximize on our time, I'm just going to dive straight into understanding from you what is it that young leaders can do to become senior leaders, right? So my first question is to Sanghamitra from Byjus. Sanghamitra, for young women leaders such as yourself in the PR comms world, let me begin by asking, I'm sure you encountered the problem of, not really the problem, but the point that you have to make your mark and go up in the system. How do you counter, say, the lack of gray hair and something that, especially, in a tech-based startup, one would assume is a room full of men? How do you make your mark?
Okay. Very good question, in fact. So for me, again, my personal view on this is that, with our work or whatever you're doing, right, if you're really, really passionate about it, it might take time, but it comes to you, right? For me, purely what I have done is when I joined PR, I knew that, hey, this is what I want to do. And I gave in my 100, 150, 200% to it. And over time, that has sort of shown result. One thing that's sort of really helped is having the right mentors and guidance, right, in this industry. That sort of really, really guides you. Always reach out if, you're confused or you don't know which way to go. I have been lucky because all my bosses have been, more than boss, they've been friends and mentors, and they have sort of shown way more confidence in me at times than I myself, right? So that sort of gives you the kind of confidence to sort of get going on that. Coming to your question with regards to filled with men, again, when I started, I think in the agency days, when you start at the junior level, it's filled with women, right? So many good friends you make at that time. But that time itself, when I was there, I realized, hey, on top, you get, you see mostly men. But I, for one, genuinely believe that that's sort of reducing, because with the number of startups that's coming up, a lot of organizations, right? Like women are getting that sort of, front row seat when it comes to being part of PR. So I think it's all about, things are changing, and we as women leaders, one of the key things that I like to do is always bring up women, be there to inspire more people, because a lot of times, a lot of girls don't even think or aspire to be like, hey, I can do that. So the more women on top, I think that will help more women reach there.
Because ultimately it is about, uplifting each other and helping each other grow, right? So I think that when it comes to women especially, I think that's very important that we help each other rise up the ranks once, we've reached a certain stage. Thank you so much for that. My next question is for Abhilasha from Tech Mahindra. So Abhilasha, you're a senior communications professional in the tech sector, okay, which again is looked at as a very male-dominated, male-skewed space. How are you taking, as a young leader, the tech story further? Have you felt that because of your gender that has proved a little difficult, or, especially in this industry, how have you taken this story further?
So Mukta, I think you're right. Tech sector is predominantly dominated by male professionals. But having said that, I think I am very privileged because say my in-house team is an all-women team. The extended agency team is actually 90%, if I'm not wrong, all women. So I have had the privilege to not just work with women around all day round, but also to promote young women and the young women talent. So from that perspective, I think I have been privileged, not just in terms of gender diversity, but also I think there's diversity of age. So, I mean, at my organization's level, age is not something that is being looked upon more than your performance, more than your skill sets, more than the caliber that you have. It's more about the individual you are. And I think equality is achieved not when you think that everyone's same. It's not that we have to be identical. It's when you cherish the diversity of thought, and the individual is all that matters, irrespective of gender, age, nationality, or any sort of diversity when you talk about that. So I think I can just safely say that I've been privileged that I work around women, I am able to promote women, and as a woman, I've never felt that my work is being spoken about after my gender, which is in itself a privilege.
Yeah. But if I were to just extend that question to about a woman who's not in that privileged space, what would you say to her?
So I think my one comment would be that charity begins at home. Unless you feel that, I mean, in the previous panel I was watching, and they talked about how the woman has a guilt that when she's leaving her children behind, or when she's not being able to say cook meals, then there's a sense of guilt that not only the society sort of pushes towards you, but also as a woman you feel that I'm not taking care of the home duties that I'm supposed to. So I think the first step is for the woman herself and the individual themselves to feel that it is okay, that it is fine that I am going to work. It is fine that I am not performing a particular duty and I'm going to work, or I am sort of neglecting, how they say, any household work, and prioritizing their work. So I think the most important thing is that even before the society tells you something, or your family or your friends or your professionals at work tell you something, you yourself say that it is okay, and you seek out for help. You ask family and you tell them that this is what I have to do. I'm not being able to perform this, and could you help me? And you feel that it is okay for you to do that. So I think your self-empowerment has to be the first and the foremost factor in you being able to prioritize that work.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that. Coming to Akanksha, the general consensus, and even Sanghamitra touched upon this, right? Is, whenever it comes to the industry, that and there's research that proves that there are more women in PR than men, especially below a certain level, right? The research says that somehow this doesn't hold true for women CEOs or firm owners. Also, although that is changing a lot. As at an important place in your career, how would you say that you would shatter this glass ceiling that seems to exist?
Well, I think there is a glass ceiling, and more so, I've actually experienced it myself. When even in smaller organizations, you generally end up being in a room full of men and a few women leaders here and there. But how do you break it is the point, because you want to make an impact and you want to not let the world kind of affect what you want to achieve in life. I think the most important thing is you need to play by your strengths. You need to know what works for you and push that clearly in front of the key leaders. The second thing which I think is very important is you should be patient, but you need to be assertive. So there are a lot of times when people just shun you down, and why do you need a hike, why do you need this? And it happens a lot of times, a lot of women leaders, okay, you're making this much money, it's good enough, why do you need more money? But you have to be assertive. Why do you need a team? It's just you're just a cost center. So how do you push your agendas? Be assertive, get your points in place, and then go and talk about it. I'm sure if leaders understand the value that PR communications brings on the table, they'll really promote it. And also what Sanghamitra said, to add to that, I think if you have great leaders who kind of promote you, and also not only female leaders, I've been lucky to have male leaders and male bosses who really promoted me and let me do what I wanted to do and really trusted me with it. It really helps you because it takes you to It really helps you to kind of go to the next level, put your point across, be in the right forums, be in the right platforms in the organization. So I think that's also a very important thing, to find mentors wherever you go and essentially communicate that your needs via those people. I think these are 2-3 things that come to my mind. Also, do not get frustrated. Keep adding onto your skill set. This is something I learned in the startup world. It's a plain slate. You can go and kind of add new skills, get new responsibilities. You have to be proactive. If you keep adding to your skill sets, it will help you get bigger responsibilities.
Right.
To give you a perspective, I'm an engineer, joined PR with no idea of PR, and then kind of built on to marketing communications. Then came digital marketing, which we had no sense of, and then I tried to learn a bit more about digital marketing to add to that, to my skill set. So all of that plays along and helps you become a better leader and break the glass ceiling.
Right. You spoke about being assertive, and that is something that always is advice that is especially given to women leaders, and maybe even junior leaders, gender no bar. How do you become more assertive in the workplace? Because there is so much baggage that you're dealing with, and especially if it's not something that is in your nature, essentially, it's going to be a very difficult thing. But it is a skill that I feel more people need to imbibe. So how do you go about asserting yourself and convincing people that this is the value that I'm bringing and this is what I deserve?
So I'll take about a minute to try and give an example of how I did that. I joined an organization where PR was just about sending one press release a month and getting 3 stories. That's about it. And led by a very senior guy who was ex-Coca-Cola APAC chairman and all of that. But still, PR was one young guy sending one press release, getting 4 stories. That's about it. He never thought PR could be important. So that's when I actually went to him. I explained to him, okay, I'll do 1, 2, 3 things. He said, okay, you can do it till I don't have to spend money. That's the usual response a lot of us get. If it's free, it's fine. If you have to spend, then I'm sorry. So I said, okay, you give me this much budget, I will do it. Then I told him I want to scale it from, say, 1 city to 4 cities. They were just doing a, say, Delhi PR. Then we scaled it to 4 cities, then scaled it to 10, and then maybe did a multi-city roadshow, 10 cities launch in a matter of 40 days. So essentially showed him the value. And I told him this will help, in startups, whatever helps you raise more money, increase your valuation, sales. So I told him this will help you. He said, okay, how? Show it to me. So I had to work on a lot of reports to show him that, this is the value I will bring on the table. It's not about a certain number of stories. It's about how the interest of the investors increase. And it's about a lot of other things that come to you as a byproduct. So then slowly, then from communications, I moved to content. I told him we need to build a content destination. We need to build something which stays for a longer time. And it's something which is more engaging for our target audience. He said, okay, if you want to do it, I will only give you this much money. I said, I'll do it, and this will help you raise the next round of funding. And I actually helped him build a 1.5 million users online community in a matter of like 3 months. And he was all gaga about it. And he's like, okay, PR. So what happened in the end was that people started using PR as a tool to save their own limitation, so to say. So people would just come and say, okay, I'm working with PR on this because they couldn't achieve their targets. I'm working with PR on this. So I turned it around to in a way that no meeting would happen without PR person. And everybody would bank on PR to show that they are actually doing some value add. So you have to just build it step by step, brick by brick, and actually show that you are making an impact where it counts. Because obviously we cannot show that, because of my story, we got you that that business. So you have to show it from a bigger impact.
And PR also happens to be one of the departments, if you were to call it, that has to prove its impact over and over and prove its value. So I think carving that niche from the beginning is extremely important, because otherwise you'll be questioned, what are you doing? Or, you're overlooked after a point. Anybody wants to add anything to this in terms of, making a mark where you proactively go ahead and make things happen for yourself? And this is for any young leader, especially at this point in their career, I'll be happy if anybody were to take this question, please.
I actually resonate a lot with Akanksha, the pointers that she brought up, right? I have a very similar story, not fundraising wise, but in terms of sort of, in PR, we always sort of, all of us are very inclined towards content also. So the next most progression is that, hey, let's look into content. So I also did something similar where, when I started out, it was like, okay, fine, she's doing something, let her do it, right? And over time, it sort of takes such a good shape that today everyone wants a piece of it. It's relating to a couple of blogs that I had sort of come up with. So going back to the point, I think it's very important to be assertive, as Akanksha pointed it out very rightly, and give all your might to it, because there will be times where, say, for example, maybe your leaders also don't believe in you, right? But there are certain things that you can do in your capacity and still get going. So I think whenever some ideas come to you and you believe in it, I think giving it your best and trying to make something out of it really makes a mark. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'll
Shree?
probably add one thing to what Sanghamitra and Akanksha have been saying, right? Completely on point that as it is, there's a gender stereotype associated with women being not too assertive, right? Which might be true for, a bunch of women out there. I don't think it's true for the women in this panel right now. They've clearly struggled and fought their way to the top. But it's a learning that we have also absorbed from our journey, right? Where we have all failed at times, and we have learned from those failures, and become more assertive and demanding for what we need to do. Just one thing which I want to add is that Akanksha raised a brilliant point that you need to show the value that you're bringing to the table, and build by step by step builds that credibility of PR, right? One thing which I learned in my journey is that while you do all the good work out there, right, it's even more important that you map your internal stakeholders within the organization, especially if you're working in a large organization. You're not going to be, just one or two people knowing the work PR is doing is not going to be enough. You need to map out enough number of stakeholders and make sure that they are aware of all the work that is going on externally and the ROI that you're bringing to the table, especially if it's for their business. And another thing which I've learned because of my previous stints and this Lenovo stint is there are a lot of teams, right, which are untapped from a PR potential. If we go to them and tell their stories externally, you immediately build allies within the organization, and that only helps your case further within the organization. You also asked that to Sanghamitra, that how do you grow within the organization? You also asked Akanksha that. So building your allies within the organization is very important, and that's how you walk up to the top, fighting the gray and the female women battle.
Shree, actually, I'm going to continue and just take one audience question that's come in. So basically, Priya is saying a few years ago, this came from a very senior person in her industry. He said that women make a lot of noise around empowerment, but when it comes to taking responsibility and risks, they tend to backtrack. She thinks that it is also a general perspective and sometimes is true to a great extent. And how can we women come out of our own comfort zones without feeling guilty? And especially around this perception, if you wouldn't mind taking this question.
Sure. Priya, I would say brilliant question, because some people might believe that's true, that women like to say that, oh, women empowerment, women equality, but we don't fight for ourselves, and we don't present a strong enough case for ourselves, which is where we have all spoken about this topic one way or the other. Build your allies, right? That's how you build your own network. Support your allies, and it's not just about it's not just about supporting your other female colleagues as well. If we are talking about women empowerment, it basically means equal amount of power for both the genders within the organization, in the society as well, right? So of course, wherever you see an opportunity, build your allies, help your allies, whether it's a female or a male. And specifically, right, talking about women empowerment, I personally disagree with what you've quoted, that women don't fight for, women are all talk and they don't do enough work for women empowerment. I think everybody in this panel will probably agree with me, because I personally am a big promoter of women empowerment. And, today, we are lucky, the women on this panel are lucky to have reached a certain stage where, they have a voice within their industry, which means that if they talk, people will listen. And, we all try to use that voice to make ourselves heard, to make our set of women heard, and, sensitize people, sensitize our leaders. I'm sure everybody on this panel, has had their conversation with their male spokesperson about gender sensitivity, and about being a little more open to diversity, inclusion, making them realize how important that topic is, and how you can't shun away by giving it to the HR team, or somebody from like the PR team to take that as a responsibility. We all are working very hard to make sure that the leaders of the organizations, including ourselves, are sensitized, are working towards D&I for the organization internally as well as externally. And wherever we see opportunity, we definitely harp onto that. And we all hope that we can set examples for future leaders, for people who are following our footpaths or our leaders' footpaths, to continue the same journey and continue empowering women by giving equal opportunities to both the genders.
Yeah. Just to add to what Shree was mentioning and to be able to answer that question,
Ask you to. Yeah.
I would say focus. Yeah. It's very important to, it's all about focus. What are you focusing on? And what are your perspectives? If you're focusing so much about, hey, women, this is how women are perceived, then you will tend to believe that, growing up. But if your focus is about doing what you gotta do and never think about not doing it, in that journey, you will inspire some people and you will not inspire some people. And that's okay. You do what you gotta do and give your best. And I think in that whole process, you will break the glass ceiling. And I also agree with what Shree was mentioning, and probably I'll be speaking for the rest of them here. I don't think that is true for most of the women today here. There was a time when that was true, but not today. I don't think so. We feel guilty about not having done what I think we all do a lot, and that's why we are here where we are. But if we focus too much on the negative, then the negative is what is going to perceive us. So I would just say that focus more on what you do best and continue doing that. Don't let anything distract you. And I'm sure that you'll break challenges. You'll create, sorry, that was a train that passed by. You'll set new benchmarks, and that's what you're supposed to do. So focus is very important.
I'm glad you brought that up, because see, one thing is that, we keep talking about a work-life balance, right? And that means different, I'm still generalizing right now, but one would assume that, that means things slightly differently for women, especially women with children and more responsibilities at home. So a work-life balance would mean something a little different, because, life is also, there's a lot of work there. However, the truth of the industry is that it is a service-led industry, and it is hyper dynamic, and there are lots of things that are perpetually on. So in light of this, how would you, with the pandemic also making it crazier, how would you say that, we maintain this work-life balance and create a space that is, okay, work is important, but so is life? How do you personally also do this?
I think there's no hard and fast rule that works for everybody. We're all in this whole process and journey, and we're learning how to. I don't think so any one of us would have said that, hey, I am now completely 100% balanced in terms of managing my work and life. But I think it's also about setting your priorities right? It's also about helping people understand and voice your opinion when you're not able to do as required. For example, there are times when they say that, hey, please turn your cameras on all the time. But I'm in the middle of probably taking care of my mom. Yeah, but I can't, but I'm listening to you, but I'm being proactive and being responsive to that question. So it's also about voicing out your opinions. When you can't and it's not possible to, go ahead and tell them and let them know. You don't have to fall under that pressure. And I think it's also about priorities. Definitely work, because there are times where, and there's a very thin line right now.
Yes,
there is no defined line that, oh, it's going to be from 9 to 6. I've been
It's
working
happening
on
simultaneously, right? I mean, it's not at this hour, this will happen, then that'll happen. You're juggling so
exactly.
many things.
Yeah. So I think it is about acknowledging what you're going through and being true to it and being genuine to what you're going through, because there's already a lot of pressure around you. Don't submiss yourself and under more. And then at the same time, when you are acknowledging it, let other people also acknowledge the same. Voice it out and tell them that, hey, this is the time I'm available. And I've started doing this, that earlier it used to be that, it used to go on till 12, 1 o'clock in the midnight, and I would be working and trying to manage both. But now I've started doing, we have this Slack channel. So what we do is that you tell the time at which you're available. So if it's from 10 to 7, then 10 to 7 is your work timings. After that, you're not available. But of course, it's probably easy said than done, because we all are in the media profession and we do get calls last minute. But then if you at least have that discipline in mind, if you at least have that discipline set in place, people will perceive that, hey, okay, Hepsibah is not available beyond 7. If there's anything that I need to do or get done or need help with, I'm keeping myself aligned to that. So voice out your thoughts and voice out your opinions.
Right. I'm going to come back to Abhilasha to ask a quick question. Abhilasha, what would you say to, there's this inherent thing especially after this pandemic, where job security, etc., is being questioned, right? So just taking off from what Hepsibah said, where you drawing boundaries for yourself is important, because otherwise you'd just be doing this 24/7, right? But at the same time, you're also fighting this thing where if I don't do this, then, how will I establish my value? How can I refuse it? My team members are doing things. So how is it that, you counter this plus an imposter syndrome? How do you counter this and tell yourself that, no, I am achieving this. This is my value and I don't need to prove beyond this.
Mukta, I think what helps me personally is having a very goal-oriented approach. So in PR especially, and I can speak for everyone, I think here, a lot of the things are impromptu. You don't know when a crisis is going to hit you. You don't know when an announcement's going to come in. A lot of the things that happen through your day are not pre-planned. But what helps me is that when I wake up, I have a very set agenda, that these are the 2 things, 3 things that from a strategy point of view, I'm going to deliver today or in this week or in this month or in this quarter. And no matter what, if I keep going back to that list through the day or through the week, then I will deliver that. And no matter what the other items that keep coming up and pushing my schedule through the day, if I have that pointers, if I have those pointers handy, then I can keep revisiting those pointers, and my agenda is never lost, the overall agenda. So it's very important to not be distracted by things that come up, and to be very focused, and to keep your priorities straight and know what you want to achieve. So if you know what you want, then you get it and you run after that and you're not distracted.
Right. My next question is a very important discussion I think we all need to have, is for Shree. An important point, especially again for women, because this is something that women face more, is this all important pay package negotiations. There's no hard and fast rule. There is no, mostly sometimes you feel like you're winging it. I'm asking too much. Will I lose out on this opportunity that I really, really want? Let me not ask for so much. Can you draw from your own experiences and give aspiring leaders a way to approach this conversation? And, it's something that the earlier you learn, the better,
So probably, some people will hate me for saying that, but I completely understand where you're coming from, Mukta, because I have been there where I have questioned my worth and what I'm bringing to the table, and probably compromising on whatever was being offered on the table. But it is a learning that has come with my journey. When you have realized how much you've given to the company, when you've truly sat down and introspected that, okay, because of all the work that I have brought to the table, today the company, is able to say so and so things, and, is truly understood externally. There's so many people outside. And that learning has only come with true introspection, that I have done some good work. I deserve more than this. So first of all, I think it's, again, everybody has said the same thing: believe in yourself. never ever doubt yourself. I think confidence and sometimes even a little bit of overconfidence is completely fine when it's about asking for your worth.
Yes.
And it's true for it's not just true for young leaders, it's even true for really senior people who are women in organizations, because I have personally experienced that they still question themselves, and they still question how worth is their work, and very easily getting dominated by other men's perspective on their work. So that's the first thing. I think that's the first battle that we internally need to win, that you are worth it. Please believe in yourself, have confidence. If you need to brush it up and go into the overconfident mode, that's also completely fine. Sometimes it's good to just be out there and be really loud. The other thing is introspecting, which is a personal learning for me. We all love doing work. We all love doing good work, but a lot of times we forget to to count the impact, right? And it's counting the impact and telling people the impact is what matters. I'm not talking on behalf of everybody else on this panel, just on my behalf. I truly am not a good person when it comes to doing my own PR. It's been a very difficult journey for me from that perspective.
Smiles are telling me that everybody is resonating with this.
Yeah. So clearly I am speaking on behalf of everybody then. And it is something that I've seen is true for a lot of my peers in the PR industry as well. So that's definitely first thing that you need to do. Because when you introspect, you do your own PR, automatically that confidence will come to you, wherein you will be able to demand for more.
Yes.
And I personally feel that women are great at negotiation, right? When I think it's just general that when you're buying something for your house, for yourself, everybody is going to be very excited about negotiation, that no, reduce this and all of that. But we don't do that when it's about our own worth.
Yes.
I think it's literally just replicating the same innate negotiation power that all of us women have, to prove your own worth, that hey, no, this much is not enough. I deserve like 50% higher than this. And go for it, ask for it. A lot of times, right, when you just ask for things in confidence and show the work that you have done, people usually hand it over to you. Because it's also a little difficult to debate with females when they're truly in the game.
And especially PR.
Yep.
PR women.
So we are like the lethal category. We are
in your blood, right? So we should
exactly
take it inward as well.
Yeah, so that's all. Summarizing, please introspect, do your own PR, have a lot of confidence, and ask for your worth. This is like the main mantra. I have learned it the hard way throughout my career, but I hope that other people can keep these things in mind. And no matter what place you are in your career, always ask for what you're worth.
Sanghamitra, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, definitely. I think I myself have experienced this pretty early in my career. Something that really helped was, again, adding on to Shree's point, right? Go out there, ask for it with all full conviction, right? Because if you have done the work and you can show it, there's absolutely nothing standing in your way, right? And if that still doesn't work out, then obviously you'll have to figure out a different way out, or I don't know, maybe move on to some other places. But definitely all of us, one thing, we don't do enough PR about ourselves. We are like so happy. We are like those ghost writers, right? We're just so comfortable being in the shadow. So I think when we do our work, when we put goals to it, and we actually put numbers against it at the end of the year or 6 months or quarter, right? When we look at it, and if we go prepared for our discussion, it becomes so much more fruitful, I feel. Yeah.
And also I think it comes from a place of I have worked hard and my boss will notice and somebody will notice and the universe will just give me what I deserve, you know. And it doesn't work like that, because you have to be able to prove with logic that cannot be refuted that this is what it is, right? I mean, the person should not be able to say anything to that afterwards. That is the kind of space that you need to build for yourself.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. I mean, this was a very, this was something that I really, really wanted you people to weigh in on.
I think just one thing which Sanghamitra, very softly touched upon, but it's very important, especially for people in the tech industry and established companies. Numbers. PR has always struggled in showing business ROI, right?
Yes.
Because there is no direct linkage that we have till been, we have been able to establish against one story. And the business impact of it, it's going to be a larger impact, right? But there are enough and more metrics to show the value of PR. And believe it or not, people love numbers, especially people sitting at the top. They love numbers. So please, this is a learning. Don't forget to quantify your work in terms of metrics, and how you've performed for the company across different messages, even if it's something as basic as clip count, share of voice, to something as civilized as like individual message tracking for the company, and how it's performed and how the scores for marketing and for the brand reputation have been impacted because of the work. Please have numbers handy, remember your numbers, work on it, deliver on it. Sanghamitra made a beautiful point, and I think it's one of the most important things when it comes to your negotiation power.
Hepsibah, I'm going to come to you now. You have paved your way in this industry, and you're sitting where you're sitting. What is the advice you would have for ambitious young professionals who are making their way in the industry right now? Some learnings that you would want to share that you have learned the hard way. And another thing is, how do they empower themselves from a young age? I don't think you need to reach a certain stage to be able to empower yourself. You should just start that process day one.
Sure.
What would you have to say to that?
Great. That's a good question. Let me take the first one. I believe all of us here, Akanksha, Abhilasha, Sanghamitra and Shree, all of us have already shared a lot of insights, and my thoughts echo the same. So I'm just probably going to try a practical route, because there are also Corpcom and agency professionals in our audience, I'm assuming. So let me try and share something that has worked well for me in my agency days and as a Corpcom, and that's helped me reach where I am today, and I hope it benefits everyone here. I think the first thing is that a practical point would be create news in the absence of news. That's something that I've really believed in and followed or practiced all throughout my 8 years. And it's that when you say create news in the absence of news, it doesn't have to be only newspaper or online. It could also be social, and it should be social. So don't always stick to, creating news for a product launch or an acquisition or a new funding round, but just go beyond. Think of new ways of being in the news. It could possibly be an employee angle, like a 24/7 helpline for employees who are unable to manage work-life balance. That's something your company is doing. Create news about that. Or, a customer who's struggling with a solution at probably 1 a.m. in the night and how your CEO helped him out. Create news about that. So don't stick with the usual storylines. Create news in the absence of news. And your company will value you more when you think beyond and show them the results of that approach. The second point would be, and this is no jargon or this is not anything new, but this is very important, and I believe we all agree to it, is that build media relationships. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that, hey, let's do RBMs. Did you know that most journos hate RBMs? And they may not tell you. Actually, the term RBM was coined by us and not the journos. So don't waste 60 minutes of somebody's time telling them who you are when they can just Google it, right? So give them more. Build relationships by giving them new story ideas. Avoid this whole RBM. If you're doing an RBM, then do it with a purpose and give them something more to chew on. And that brings me to the last one, is that create compelling pitch notes. Work continuously on your writing and storytelling skills. Your target, the journalist, they receive on an average about 30 to 40 emails a day, depending on their seniority. And most of these are press releases. Yeah. So they receive a compelling pitch only once in 2 months. And that is me being highly optimistic. Otherwise, it is nothing less than once in 4 months. And I'm not exaggerating. These numbers are actually quoted by a very senior Bangalore journal. So don't be lost in the clutter. And how you're going to not be lost in the clutter is because when you're able to kind of create something new, create a compelling pitch note. And the other thing that I've learned over time is that if you like a story and if you saw a story that you liked and you're thinking of reaching out to the same journalist for a similar story for your company, stop there. Please don't. Yeah. Think, why would the journal do a similar story again? So in short, media is hungry and they're wanting storylines. It's up to us as to what is it that we give them. The second question about how can women employees empower themselves from a young age to make it big in communications? I think I would probably reiterate some of the points that have already been made. One is believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Yeah, and create new benchmarks. Create your own world. Don't settle for the usual, and be tough on yourself. That's something that I have been on myself for a while, and it's okay.
It's an important advice. Hold yourself to a higher standard.
Yes, always. Look for opportunities where you can learn. And personally, to me, none of the opportunities or none of the learning that I have had in the last 8 years has ever gone in vain. It has been beneficial at some point or the other. Yeah. And the second is don't talk, show. Yeah. Like everybody said here, your management team may not understand what PR is or how it works out, but the one thing they do like is numbers, and they love insights, and they love stories like a front page story. So speak their language, don't speak yours, and show them the impact of PR. And I'm sure that with time, it of course doesn't happen instantly. There's a very important to be consistent.
Right.
Yeah, in everything that you do. And with consistency, you will achieve what your goal is.
Right.
Just to add to what Hepsibah said,
Yes.
I think another thing that's really worked for me is building an ecosystem around me. So I think building a support ecosystem, and I mean, this does sound like a fairy tale of sorts, but I can tell you, when I'm drawing from my personal experience, that when the pandemic had hit us, which was around March 2019, 2020, when we started realizing its effects. And we were without a Copcom head, and we're a 125,000 big organization. And it was, and I said, I have all women team members in my team. And it was all women who said that, hey, we think you can do this, and we think you should be doing this, and we'll support you in every way we can. So I think if you have that sort of an ecosystem around you, not just at work, but also at a personal level where people are promoting you, that is very helpful. And it really helps you to become a young leader, irrespective of your gender.
Wonderful. I have one question that's coming from the audience, and I would love it if Akanksha could take it. It's actually funny. An anonymous attendee is asking us, these fundamentals have been reiterated for years. Why do you think we're not getting it right yet? Everything that we've said in this panel.
Interesting question. Let me try to respond to it. So while it's good to give a lot of gyan, so to say, to do X, Y, Z things, a lot of us kind of end up not doing it or not putting it into practice every day, because of multiple other challenges that kind of we are overcome with. So that is one reason I think that, while we know it all, practically we know it all, but we are not really putting it into practice every day, because we are trying to get the next story out. We are trying to manage multiple stakeholders. That's one thing. Second thing is that, this believe in ourselves. We believe, but we believe in phases. There would be a bad day and be like, oh, I am sorry, I'm not cut out for this. We're like totally shattered. So we have to keep believing in ourselves, telling ourselves, a lot of self-talk really helps to tell yourself that, you have it in you, you can get there. That's where we, I think, miss out, because we get influenced by people around us. We get influenced by a lot of things that people say, and everybody's is not there to praise you. You have to be your own motivator, and you have to have your own drive. So that's one thing, one reason I think it also, because of which it kind of gets missed out. Thirdly, we end up being in the rat race. We keep saying, okay, X is getting this much money, or XY has achieved this much, I have not. ideally, I think the better way is to benchmark it to ourselves. You see, you want to be a better version of yourself. What you were today, you should be better version of yourself tomorrow. So that would help you to kind of, I think these are things, if you follow along with all of these suggestions, it will really help to kind of be a great, break the glass ceiling and be a great women leader in the times to come. One more thing, especially in fintech, which we see, which I have seen personally, and adding to what the pretty ladies have already said, is that I feel a lot of communication professionals have come with very limited knowledge, and they do not have an understanding of the industry per se, because we are also moving industry, so we know our subject well, but we do not know the industry nuances well. So if we add that to we take it as a task to kind of add those that knowledge, those skill sets into our daily conversations, maybe take help with the stakeholders who are there, learn from the industry leaders, whoever you can, it will really help you. For fintech, for an example, I had no idea about fintech. Like, I don't like finance. I know technology very well, but I don't never used to like finance. I was like, I can't do this. But leaders I met on the way, business leaders, they actually guided me, and I used to go to them with even the smallest of questions. What is a payment gateway? What do you mean by this? Now, what are these multiple partners in the ecosystem? So those kind of questions, you have to understand it in depth, because only then you can pitch it right, and only then you sound like an intelligent voice of the organization. So I think these things would I hope I was able to answer that question, but these are things which should be done to, in addition to all the mantras that we've given.
Yeah. I would like anybody to go ahead and add to this. And especially, I want to see, she brought up a very important point about upskilling. This is a very dynamic industry also. And sometimes it feels like the same principles and whatever that was happening 10 years ago are still being used in the same form, some or the other. So I would like somebody to add on to what Akanksha just said, especially with the focus on the need to constantly evolve your skills and keep in touch with everything else that's happening with you.
So quick input here. So we are all from the tech industry. So I think technology has a big role to play, and there's so much that technology can help you even as a PR professional. So just to give an example, we have a press release portal at Tech Mahindra, and it was only launched last year, and we're using it to minimize the work that we need to do something as mundane as writing a press release. And there's so much scope for technologies like machine learning and AI to help us with intelligent content once that database is made. So I think it's very important that you leverage technology to its best potential. And every day there's a new innovation, and thankfully we're in the industry, so we know the facts and the figures, but why not use it to be better communication professionals? Because it's not that the technology will take away your job. It's just going to make your job more intelligent. It's going to let you have the bandwidth to make more strategic decisions, to have more strategic inputs, and let the mundane and the regular stuff be with the technology. So
right. And with that, our time is up. Thank you so much for this and this extremely insightful conversation. I hope our audience has taken some key takeaways that they can practice and grow to be wonderful leaders. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you so much. Thanks, panel. I think the future is in safe hands for sure. Some of you I know well, and some of you have inspired with your words today. So the glass ceiling exists. Don't let it get you down. It's a clean slate. Add to yourself. Own your spaces. Let others hold you up to. Be assertive. Make your way to the top. Learn and absorb. Let your failures teach you. Empowered responsibility without guilt is the way forward. Standing up and standing tall. Walk the talk and lay the foundation. Focus on what's powerful, believe and do your best. Step past the guilt and set new benchmarks. Ask for your worth and negotiate and pave your way. Start young and start soon. Build relationships and speak their language. Stay consistent, practice every day, counter it all, and you'll own your space. So that from your conversation, ladies. Thank you so much to all of you for having joined us here today and for that wonderful conversation. Thank you, everybody.